Hey, I'm Jodie. I'm a fashion and beauty photographer, director, and curator based in the UK. We're all living in tough times right now, particularly in my industry, in the photographic industry, and I think we have done for some time now. Lockdown has obviously had a huge financial impact on the economy, and on top of that, we've got the introduction of AI and how that's been developing. So it makes perfect sense for me today to talk to you all about the joys of starting and running your own business in this industry. The reason I'm doing this is because during lockdown, I actually wrote an article all about this, and I was really taken by the feedback at the time. I had a lot of comments from people all across the industry, photographers, designers, creative directors from agencies, basically saying thank you for writing this because I really needed some momentum and some positivity back into my brain from what felt like the end of everything. And interestingly, only a couple of days ago, I actually received a new comment on my blog on my website saying, I've been looking for inspiration to a new road and I found that inspiration. Thank you. So that's why I want to talk about it today, because I think it would be great to get some positivity back into our brains while things are the way they are. So I want to be really positive with this video because there are so many positives. Obviously, this isn't for everyone, but you find out pretty quickly if it's for you. So joy number one, you do you. The obvious bonus, a flexible life on your terms and total creative freedom. I can set my own hours, I can set up my environment in whatever way I choose, I can write a very good pitch and a very good email in whatever state I may be in at that time. Nobody needs to know or see it. I can prioritize the things that are really important to me, and I can react to things immediately rather than waiting for someone's approval. Ultimately, I can call my own shots, and that's a big bonus. So, how do you know if this is for you? Let me give you a little breakdown of what happened to me from where I started my career to where I am now, very, very quickly. As soon as I left school, I started running my own business in photography when I was 18 years old. And then I did that for a few years. It was very, very difficult. My living situation was tough at the time. I was in a relationship with someone very, very young, very early. We were living together. It was very, very intense. And there were loads of other things going on in my life. So I did that very happily for a few years. And then I got to 21. My relationship ended. Everything felt like it was kind of crashing around me. And I had a client at the time that saw that I was struggling and asked me if I wanted to come on board full-time as their photographer. At the time, it felt like a blessing because I knew that I loved it and I loved the freedom and all the positives that come with it. But I think at the time I was really struggling to maintain it for myself. Initially, that job was great because I could carry on doing exactly what I was doing. I was still doing fashion and beauty. I was still working with amazing models, amazing clothes, beautiful makeup. But it didn't take long for me to realize that sometimes life isn't about what you really, really want. Sometimes it's about what are you willing to sacrifice? What are you really willing to put up with? And in this occasion, I realized, I think I lasted 9 months before I realized that this isn't for me. Being employed full-time isn't for me. I lost a lot of confidence in that job and I lost a lot of who I was in that job. And luckily I was working with someone at the time that really helped me see who I was again. And we left that job together and we started working together full-time as self-employed photographers again, which was amazing. So yes, being employed full-time is great for financial security to a point, but it's very hard to maintain that freedom that I particularly at that time really, really, really missed. So when I launched my business again after that time, I realized that I could make it whatever I wanted, and that short but intense experience that I had fully employed really made me appreciate that. It made me appreciate all the good things that come with running my own business, and the negatives really did not outweigh the positives. So I have complete freedom to put myself out there the way I choose and the way I feel is right and the way I feel matches my persona, my principles, my morals. And also I can pivot in whichever way I want. So for example, I started in photography and it didn't take long for me to start moving into motion. And then from there, I realized how important the storytelling element was to my business, my brand, and my mind. Very recently, I have now started working more in curation and pushing that side of my business. Also, this is a new thing, and I've been wanting to for a long time start moving into more education. This is obviously very early days. This is the beginning of it. But in time, I'd love to start doing workshops and working more closely with people, new photographers, new artists, to try and encourage people and help people to get started in this industry in a more positive way. Joy number 2, purpose, pride, and fulfillment. If there's one thing I promised myself when I started my own business, it was to maintain purpose. The moment I started feeling like a machine, just churning out imagery without ever taking a moment to ask myself, is this saying anything to anyone, would be the moment that I would lose who I was. I think no matter who you are, no matter what you do, no matter what industry you're in, it's so important to, at the end of the day, feel like you've done something for someone, or you feel like you've got some kind of purpose in life. It's a simple thing, but I think it's so important for the soul, you know? Creatively, I feel like I'm able to put so much more into it, give it my absolute best when I feel like I'm doing something really great for someone else, be it helping someone promote their brand, new or existing, create and define someone's business, relaunch something, or just carry on promoting something in a totally unique way. I also take enormous pride in problem solving, which I do feel is a massive part of what we do most of the time. I think it's safe to say that actually taking the pictures is probably 10% of what we do. And of course, the beauty of what we do as a photographer, a filmmaker, a director, a storyteller is we can bring someone else's story to life. We can use what we do for good. Something that I did a few years ago was putting a spotlight on an amazing female powerlifting community here in Edinburgh that I was a part of for about 2.5 years. I was going through a really rough time at that time, and that community completely changed my life, and it changed it for the better. So I realized I can use my talent and my skill to put a spotlight on them, to tell their story and to spread awareness. And for me, that is one of the most satisfying parts of what we do. Joy number 3, you take the risk and you reap the reward. I like being in charge of my own mistakes. If something goes wrong, I'd rather deal with the egg on my face than having to wipe it off someone else's. And of course, that is how you learn, that is how you grow, by making mistakes, as hard as it is. Equally, I like that my future is my own responsibility. I believe that the better you are at managing your own mistakes, knowing how to pick yourself up from them after you've made them, the more you can learn and grow as a person and as a professional. You begin to learn how to create exit strategies for bad decisions and how to beef up the good ones. Successes are that much sweeter, failures are raw, you have more of a vitality for life. Once you've experienced this, it's so hard to go back. Joy number 4, this one's probably my favourite one. Yup, you can say nope. The word no often has negative connotations, and I'm definitely someone who is a bit of a people pleaser. I always have been. It's been hard to shake off. It makes using the word no difficult. In doing so, I have gotten myself into situations that have made me quite unhappy and have taken the sweetness out of life a little bit. I think we can all agree that we've all at some point said yes to something, even when we really wanted to say no, just because we didn't want to disappoint someone. And sometimes that can be okay, and other times that can be detrimental to your well-being and to your mental state and to your ability to carry on doing the things that are really important to you. And in this situation, particularly in business, it's very, very important knowing when to say no and knowing when it's no longer worth your time. Something to remember is we have the freedom and the right to say no to things we don't feel are good for us. We have the right to say no to work that we don't feel aligns with who we are and what we believe in. And when you are able to say no, you'll find that you have so much more time to do the things that you love doing, the things that bring you joy, bring you fulfillment, and put you into a better position to give to other people. So as a result, we get to do more of the things we love for people that really, really want it, whilst maintaining great working relationships. Last but certainly not least, joy number 5, you discover so much more about yourself. Character building is one of the best things that you can do for yourself in life. When you start your own business, you discover pretty quickly what things matter to you the most, what you're willing to sacrifice to reach your goals, what you're willing to do to go the distance, and how you can utilize and maximize your potential. One of the most important things that I discovered about myself is that I'm a lot more resilient than I thought. I often go through swings and roundabouts, ups and downs, waves, roller coaster rides of feeling like I'm not good enough, having a lot of self-doubt, a lot of imposter syndrome, comparing myself to other people, other photographers. And the one thing that I always keep coming back to is I cannot think of anything else I would rather do. The mental roller coaster rides that I go through do not outweigh the joy that I get from doing this. And I live and breathe this. So if all of that, if any of that resonates with you, then I think you're in the right job and you're doing the right thing. You're relying on yourself to make the right decision whilst making yourself into something that you can truly be proud of. And all of this is up to you. So as I say, times are tough right now. Things are very uncertain and budgets are tight. Just last week, I had an interview with my lovely agent, Scott. You can find that interview on his YouTube channel, Tin House Studio. And that's where he told me that he just got asked by a big agency for his hourly rate for a 2-hour shoot, which is not something I've heard before from a client that size. It really gives you a good indication as to where things are right now. Scott is obviously very, very well established in this industry, has been for some time. So it was very unusual for him to be asked for a rate for a time that you probably could only set up in if you're lucky. Now, it's not to say that there aren't some cons and swings and roundabouts with running your own business, of course. There's the irregular income. There's the never really feeling like you're off duty. There's the trickiness with separating your personal life to your work life. Things like going on holiday can be always difficult. If a big job comes in and you've got something booked with your friends or family, that can always put spanners in the works. It's very difficult to switch off when you want to. Then there's obviously managing clients, deadlines, often they are tight. And of course, sometimes you can feel very lonely in this industry, both physically and mentally, particularly when you're not shooting. This is why I always recommend, if you can, try to find a creative network or a mentor or other photographers that you feel that you can bond with in some way. There is a big tendency to have, imposter syndrome, a lot of self-doubt, overthinking things. There's a lot of uncertainty and unpredictability with this. So having someone that you can bounce ideas off of, just having someone that makes you feel a lot less alone, it makes a huge difference to your morale and your ability to carry on and to maintain motivation in what is a very difficult job. On that, one of the most important pieces of advice I can give you when you are feeling like everything sucks is remember why you got into this. Remember why you love doing this. Go shoot a personal project. Go shoot something that you love doing. Work with people that you love working with. Start talking about ideas with other people. Get inspired again. And you'll soon realize that there is still that love and that fire and that desire in you to carry on to do this. I hope that was helpful. That was my personal 5 joys in starting and running your own business. I will see you next time for more of this and more of other things that hopefully will also be useful. Bye-bye.